Welcome back to another episode of Keoni Chats. If this is your first time checking out the show, I welcome you. All episodes can be found on all major podcast platforms and YouTube, and new episodes are announced through social media. And so if you want to be in the loop for when those are released, you can follow the show when you look up at KC Media 13 on Instagram and Twitter, and then at Conluke Media on Facebook. And so episodes and other creative content are available on my website, keoniconlu.com, keoniconlu.com. And some of my other creative endeavors are a couple of blog series, the DC Animated Universe Review series, there you go, and the NFL mock drafts. And so in terms of the update on how those are going is that the DC Animated Review series, that one's, I just got done watching one of the part 2 of the the DC Crisis on Infinite Earths. So that was so. And then in terms of the NFL mock drafts, I did migrate it from a blog series over to my other sports show called KCM Sports. It was difficult. It was interesting just to try and be an analyst and also have to string these thoughts together, know when to breathe. So all those small technique things, that was challenging. So I salute you to all of the analysts out there, all broadcasters, for talking about the podcast or talking about all of those heavy contents. So I think a little bit of an update that I would like to share is that following this episode with Josh Stofiel, I'm going to be taking a little bit of a hiatus and focus on A, relocation, going to a new place, and then B, I think we're going to actually put the podcast down for a little bit, pick up the camera, and start taking some photos. So the website will probably be the best place to look for them, or at least see how they come out. I'll also post on social media, and I think it's exciting. I'm excited, but I'm also nervous about just taking time away because I'm just so used to doing this. But some of the nuances, that's where it kind of gets a little bogged down. So, yes, going to take a little bit of a break following this episode. So I think that's kind of why I've been a little slow to get this episode released. So, Josh, thank you for not hounding me on where your episode is. Thank you for your patience. But yeah, so Josh, I met him at my last work, and I don't know if it was just how he is, how you visually see him, or just how you interact with him. But he was just one of those guys that I remember just being excited to see, or just being that could just be how I am with everyone. But I just remember with Josh, and specifically at this last job where I never saw myself working in the print industry. And for me to meet this guy and have just a lot of fun talking with him now I got to know him more during this conversation than when I worked with him. And I think that's just kind of how it is, because while he was with the previous company, he did leave to pursue some other endeavors, which we talk about in this episode. My original thought was to talk about him and how he came up with the idea for Evoke Visual Solutions, for which he is one of the co-founders. But then it kind of just blossomed to talking about, how he got into the print industry, kind of the troubles he had with school, and how he had to relocate to be away from those big cities, to kind of take him away from all of those temptations to do things that aren't good for you. So Josh, thank you for, he opened up, but to a comfortable amount, to where he, you can kind of tell during the episode, he does kind of give me the Cliff Notes version, just because he doesn't want to ruffle any feathers. And so I totally appreciate how much he was willing to share. Yeah, that's enough of me rambling on. But yeah, so this episode is available on all podcast platforms and YouTube. So just if there's a platform you use that I am not on, direct message me and I'll work to get myself on there because I want to make myself available to you. So for the last time for a little bit, however you are enjoying this episode on whichever platform you prefer, I hope you enjoy my chat with Josh Stofiel. It's been a long time since I've seen you.
So I think it was 2019, right before I left.
Yeah.
Like, premiere, right?
Yeah.
So that was a freaking while ago.
Dude.
That was the beginning. Like it was like April.
Yeah. And I remember when I started at Premiere, that was my first ever adult job. The Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. I get to actually have a weekend. To the point where I was still like, I don't know. I have a weekend? What? What's going on here? So when you jumped over, what were some of your because just jumping over from a job to job, what was some of the things that, if you remember, that you were like, okay, I'm kind of hopeful this will be like this way, or you're like, oh, I think this is gonna be fun, I hope. And yeah, what were some of your expectations jumping into that job at Premiere?
Well, it was kind of tough because Ivy Performance Marketing went through, well, I guess that would have been their second real acquisition. Mm-hmm. So that was kind of tough. We didn't really know what to expect. We knew the acquisitions that we went to, we were going under companies that were mostly commercial print.
Okay.
It's different world in wide format and working with brands, and it's a completely different world. Yeah. It's almost like an agency setting where there's a little bit more relaxation, but also when it's go time, it's go time.
Yeah.
And you got to get stuff up or you got companies losing money. And, every second counts to make that connection happen with their consumer. Mm-hmm. So, that's where it kind of gets a little bit more stressful. Mm-hmm. You have to stay on your feet. And so it just feels like a totally different world. So when we went into there, it was kind of like, I didn't know what to expect. Yeah. I was just there to have a good time.
Yeah.
Let's work. Let's get through it. But I was also running programs back then to where it was pretty easy. Mm-hmm. I wasn't really working with on the retail side. It was mostly
internal stuff.
Healthcare. Yeah. And then I helped out with a few other accounts that were more programmatic instead of, custom runs through the shop. It was so my job got boring. Honestly.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I got stagnant. That was one of the reasons why I ended up leaving, was just because I just wasn't challenged anymore. I was kind of done.
From my perspective, just, not knowing much about the project manager's world, just seeing you and the other folks in that department, just they're always running around. They're always moving. And so I remember seeing you, just hustle all over the floor. And then when you left, I was like, oh, that's sad. But then when you said you left for, Adidas and being able to just join that big company, I was like, that's exciting. That's fun. And it's always you always hope those people jump to greener pastures.
Yeah. That was a scary shift.
Was it?
In my career. That was crazy. And I was kind of as a contractor through other companies working directly with Adidas, but it was such an amazing opportunity. But like I said, it was scary as hell to make that jump. Cause I was
I was in transferring too. Yeah. Huh? You kept moving around. I mean, you had the acquisition that led you to Premiere. It didn't seem like you have a whole lot of time to settle in.
Yeah. That's kind of what it felt like too. It was I just wanted to call something home for a little while. Because we went, Ivy went through its huge layoffs. Mm-hmm. And then it was here's an acquisition to write business graphics. And it was at the point where we found out, if that didn't happen, we would have been let go and not paid, that day.
Damn.
So everybody was kind of wait, what? Hold on, don't skip that part.
Yeah. You can't gloss over that.
Yeah. What the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
Pardon my language.
You can curse on this. You're fine.
Right. But I was it was kind of funny, and everybody was just kind of shocked. Mm-hmm. Going through that whole mess. But Right Business Graphics, they did their best and did good by us for the most part.
Good.
Couldn't really complain, but going through that and seeing all our buddies in the industry, like, you know, a lot of people got laid off.
Yeah.
Core people stayed, and it was at that point where you built relationships with these guys because you almost felt like you just went through such a crazy period because in this industry, you know, you have your just ups and downs.
Yeah.
You know, you're putting in 16-hour work days trying to get projects done for brands that need stuff overnight, and stuff's constantly changing, and which I understand more now that I've been on the brand side a little bit.
Yeah.
But then it was kind of like, why the hell do they keep changing? Like, like now you guys want this graphic printed? Like, okay, we got to overnight it or put somebody on a plane to New York to like get it up the next day. It's like, okay, like whatever. But now being on the brand side, you kind of get the reasons why, the pain points that we went through on the print side.
Do you think any of that has like got into your personal life in terms of like not being able to like fully sit down and relax? You always feel like you have to be moving, or you feel like you can still keep those two separate?
I think it was like that for a long time until COVID hit.
Yeah.
And then things kind of switched with me mentally because it was weird. Like when that happened, a bunch of people got furloughed. I was asked to stay on to help out with all the current running projects, and I dug in so deep into work that, and with all the other stuff that was going on around 2020, like after a while kind of catching up, because like Hannah and I weren't living together at the time. And I had my dad. He has MS. He's mostly wheelchair bound. He has some mobility, but not much. And I had to like think about him. There was no way I wasn't going to see Hannah. So I was like, her and I were like, let's just move in. I know we were planning on doing it anyways. Let's move in together now. So she
circumstantial. You know, it's all circumstantial.
Well, God bless her, because she was out because everything was still like heightened. You know, you couldn't have more than a few people in a room at a time. Everybody needed to be masked up,
6 feet apart.
So she was looking for apartments by herself and FaceTiming us, and she was trying to look for stuff that was going to fit his needs, that was wheelchair accessible.
Oh, that's very nice.
She was like going through all this shit. Yeah, this is why her and I are getting married. Not just that, but like she definitely got my back through all that. And we found a place out in Sherwood that was perfect, and we ended up moving out there, and that's when, like, you know, everything kind of came to a head where I was just like, I shut down.
That's a lot to carry on too. Like, you know, even let's say if Hannah wasn't in the picture, it was just you trying to, you know, maneuver. 2020 was tough for everyone, but then, you know, having to also find, you know, there are other people I've talked with and other people I work with that like, they basically had to like disappear from the workspace because either they have an autoimmune deficiency, or, you know, they live with their parents or whatnot, and they have to make sure they are taken care of. I mean, I'm happy that you had her to, you know, help carry all of this with you. Yeah,
and it was difficult for her because then she had to learn how to not only live with me but live with my dad. And, you know, he's disabled, so it comes with their challenges. Sure. But and it's that was probably a lot for her to deal with. But her and I talk about like try to talk things through all the time about it, and we kind of dug deep about it. It was definitely a transition for her.
So like when I was there from like, I was working in the print industry from, I want to say it was like 2017 to like 29, no, I think it was like 17 and 19, something in that range. So, you know, right before COVID hit, that when it hit, one of my first thoughts was like, that's an industry that's going to get hit kind of hard. So with you kind of jumping around and, like you said, making friends, what was it like to hear about some of your people going through some tough times? And I know for myself, if I were to hear that, I'm just like, I'm kind of a problem solver. I'm like, how do I help? What do I do? Did you ever have anything like that?
I mean, some it didn't really affect them at all. Others, like, it did a lot more. You know, I won't go too deep into it, but I had some that like people like just develop like almost freaking disorders from having like being cut off from people and not really knowing. Like some people handled it differently. But most of the people, it was kind of like after the back and forth with like masks. Like wear it, don't wear it. Like people were just kind of starting to be like, okay, you know what? I'll be cautious, but I'm not going to care anymore. Like,
open airflow, right? Be outside. Yeah.
But then you see like, those same people saying that stuff are, either in Florida or, they're in places where they're like not wearing a mask. I'm like, well, wait, what?
Yeah.
But a lot of people thought that way, and it was kind of like people just started relaxing, and other people didn't, which was fine. I was like that because my dad. I still wore a mask, like especially if it made him comfortable. I was like, all right, I'll wear one. Like it's fine. But then after a while, he was like, I don't even know why I'm wearing this anymore. He's like.
I think that's one of those like those older folk just like mentalities of like, okay, I survived like at least 80 plus years of my life, then I am not. I feel like they have that kind of like, I won't say like stubbornness, but just like a mindset of like, I can make it through almost anything because I've made it through 80 years of whatever. So
well, I think it freaked him out just because of the like he's in deep with the MS community in Northwest and all over really, but
nice.
He knew a lot of people that like MS, like there's drugs out there that you take that really kind of either extremely lower your immunity or it just knocks it out. So like it puts you at way high risk for stuff. And he's known some people that, COVID really affected them. So it was something that freaked him out because he wasn't just worried about himself. He was worried about, all the people he cares about too. So,
So something I've oddly found myself doing is learning more about something I never thought I needed to know. So it's like with the print industry, it's like, oh, is this what this means by weight? It's not like it actually like, lifting weights or gym weights is actually like the weight of a paper. When it came to, living with your dad and MS, how much of your knowledge grew just in like, I guess within the last handful of years of you being with your dad and he being part of the community, it's like you find yourself just being like, wow, there's a whole lot that left to be explored. Or how did you feel about learning all this?
Like about MS was a huge learning curve. He's had it. He was diagnosed in 96 or 97. So he's had it for a long time.
Wow.
And being young, I didn't learn too much about it. Like I knew what his condition was and stuff like that, but I was also out all the time. So, but when I moved back and I was like more in his life because I moved around a little bit for a while. I got to learn a lot about the MS. How it's affecting him because it kind of affects people differently. So it's one of those weird diseases that kind of hard to wrap your head around because you don't know if it's like MS. Like now, like I don't know if it's MS or him getting old. Like, or is he getting sick or is it his MS? Like it's kind of hard to like narrow things down. So it's kind of like a constant learning experience with it. But I try to keep up, like, I'll go with him to go see his neurologist and I'll go with him to go see, his doctor's appointments so I can take notes and like make sure I'm right there with him. But it's definitely a learning curve. I never would have thought that this was, going to be the forefront of a lot of my experience, but like it is what it is. Like, it's totally fine too. Like, but it gets difficult trying to keep track of all his medical stuff. And then mine as well. So, I mean, I'm a big guy. I got some health issues too. And so it's kind of like juggling both. I'm like, wait, are those my meds or your meds? No, just kidding. I'm kidding. But
MS is multiple sclerosis. Multiple sclerosis. I think I'm saying that right. Sclerosis. I will practice this. I'll get this down. And there are times where if my dad passed away from a brain hemorrhage or brain Yeah, Richard, right? Yeah. Blanking out right now. But yeah, he had some other health issues like diabetes and high blood pressure and whatnot. So there are times where it's like, okay, I feel like myself is kind of like slowing down. Is it because of what I just ate, or is it because like all these other things start popping up? What is it like to see? I mean, more of like you're thinking of your dad and how it kind of transformed from like, when you were younger to where you are now and how he is now. Is it tough to see this happening to him, or how are you feeling about all that?
It was. That was a little. So this is kind of a long story. So he was in the print industry when I was young.
Oh,
so
print industry is in your blood.
Unfortunately, and I mean, in that industry, you work a lot, and he did too when I was young. So when I think I was around 7 or 8, my parents got divorced. Me and my brother Tim went and lived with him, and my sister and other brother Michael and Rachel went and lived with my mom for a while. And my dad got laid off from the print industry and was working like 2 full-time jobs. So I hardly ever saw the guy.
Oh,
I didn't hardly see him when he was working at Y East, but when he got laid off, like in order to take care of everything, like he worked 2 full-time jobs. So yeah, he wasn't around that much. I was out doing my own thing, and when 96 hit, when he got diagnosed with that, his like 2/3 of his body went numb, and he just kind of, and that was a crazy year because that's my brother Tim died. He got diagnosed with MS, and then in 97, beginning in 97, I believe is when my grandpa died, his father. So all this stuff hit like back to back, and it was just kind of a whirlwind. He checked out, so did I. It was kind of one of those,
yeah.
You do your thing, I'm going to go do mine.
Yeah.
And, he couldn't really work anymore either. So,
yeah.
And he was, I think at the time he was the manager of the apartment complex we were in too. So I actually had to help out, like work out around there, whether it was blowing leaves or vacuuming the pool or like whatever it was.
Just menial like maintenance tasks. Yeah.
Helping out with that stuff. So it was just kind of one of those weird years. And then growing up, like as soon as I turned 18 or 19, I got off probation, and I was like, I gotta get out of Portland. I was like, I'm gonna get in trouble, more trouble.
Yeah.
And when I took off, like I was gone for quite a while.
Okay.
Kept coming back and stuff, and I was still communicating with him, and him and I got along back then and stuff. But like he had a girlfriend at the time. My grandma lived with him, so he was like taken care of. I took off, and
you need to go find yourself, and you need to go.
Yeah,
maybe
kinda.
Just see what other life is like outside of.
At first, it was losing myself, and then it was like came back around, and then I found it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was kind of weird. So it was difficult to see him like go through that, but at the same time, it was like him and I both kind of checked out. So
okay, and your mom?
My mom, that's a longer story. Her and I have a pretty good relationship now.
Okay. Yeah.
And we always have. It was just one of those things where she wasn't around either, so I didn't really see her all that much. I don't have like animosity towards her. She didn't really do anything to me except for not really be around. So it was kind of like, now we just have a relationship. We talk more often.
You check
now.
in with each other, and yeah.
We talk more often now than we have for a long time. But I actually moved in with her. I was about 20. She lived out in Goldendale, Washington, and I moved way out there in that small town.
What is that next to?
You know where going up the gorge, if you go to Biggs Junction, one of the bridges that crosses over into Washington, it's just up the hill from there. So it's probably about like a 2-hour drive, maybe.
Okay, yeah. So my partner and I went to Yakima. This,
you would pass Goldendale. If you
probably pass it. Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. So,
yeah.
And then your brother is no longer with us. Are there any times where you're just like, have these like fleeting like missing moments of him? And because my dad is sitting on my shelf right now in an urn. So there are times where an example is the Black Panther 2 movie, where there was a lot of funeral scenes and like kind of hit hard and unexpectedly. Do you have any of these kind of like surprise grief moments that my therapist told me about? So
yeah, it's more or less usually happens in like those kind of key moments in life where it's like, fuck, I wish he was here.
Yeah.
You know, but like him and I got close. He was in and out of trouble a lot when we were kids, and he was quite a bit older.
Okay.
I think he was 8-9 years older than me.
Yeah, that's a big gap.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
He was, but so he was in and out of juvie and homes and stuff like that when I was really young, but then was more in my life towards the end there, and him and I would like hang out all the time and do stuff, and you know, when he passed, that hit hard, and then I kind of just tuned everything out.
Yeah,
I was kind of done after all that, but you know, I still had Michael and Rachel too. We tried, you know, we all had our own issues going on, just because like I was living in Portland with my dad. They were in like Hermiston or
Michael and Rachel
Goldendale.
are
They're my brother and sister.
Oh,
so
you're multiple siblings.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So they're my half brother, half sister.
Gotcha. Okay.
That's too long of a story because Tim was my half brother.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter.
Okay.
I'm not gonna put.
We can get into that off camera.
Yeah. There's a long story, but like I had like Michael and Rachel, and we were all like really close, but we all kind of had to go through our own like separate deals going through there. I'll be careful.
You're good. Honestly, I probably could hit that wire a little bit better. We're learning. So when I was in, I think my first year out of high school, one of my high school classmates, he was in the military, and he passed away because of, I think it was friendly fire or something like that. And so when I went to his service, and then I was sitting there, and then his brothers were like giving a eulogy or a speech, and I was like, ooh, that twisted knife. I was like, that one hurts. I that's where it started to like, well, I could feel it kind of tighten up my chest just hearing them talk. And then I think there are times where I see on TV, you know, like a brother passes away, or, you know, maybe it's like a Western, for example. It's like, oh, the brother's passing away and the other brother's arms or something like that. So it's just like, I'm trying to I find these moments where I'm just like, okay, my brother's still here. It's like, he's not gone, but still like the image in my head of like me. But if I ever have to experience that seems like tough. And obviously, the world now is not what it was even like 10 years ago, where, you know, talking about the mental struggles is not as, you know, casual or not as like frequent. So when you did check out, what helped you get back in?
All right. Yeah.
As deep as you want.
No, it's fine. Actually, and then I'm gonna loop this around and kind of close it out with something positive.
Sure.
I don't want to dig into something like so negative. But when I was heading down a path of just, in my opinion, it was really destructive.
Yeah.
Cops would have felt the same way. I got arrested when I was about 15 or 16. And it was a few counts of burglary and theft. And I ended up going on probation for a couple years. I was actually getting charged with 2 A-class felonies on there. So technically at that time, they could have tried me as an adult. But since that was my first offense, the judge was being lenient on me. I was respectful as I could be. You know, they gave me a bunch of tasks that I needed to get done. I needed to go through drug counseling, anger management. I had to get back into like alternative school or get my GED, do something. Yeah. But what kind of put me down the path of being like, oh, okay, I need to do this, was that when I got arrested, they took me back to the house. The cops that arrested me took me back to the house that I burglarized.
Oh.
The person... The husband and wife were out on the porch, and his wife was just crying. And I looked up at him, and I was like, that crushed me. You never really see like the damage that you do to somebody.
Yeah.
So I was kind of blessed to see that, because that changed my whole thought around it. Mm-hmm. I was like, what am I doing here? Like, the invasion of privacy and security that they must have felt, like, that changed everything about me. Yeah. And kind of took me, even though I was still kind of screwing up after that, I was still out partying. I was still doing stupid things, but like I like did my best not to hurt anybody.
You found your end line. You found your stopping point.
Yeah.
Like, I will go out to the bars. I will, have fun. But as soon as someone gets hurt, that I'm
developed
done.
A set of core values of mine that I never stray away from. Wow. Like, that kind of put me down this path where it was like, the part that sucked about it is like, I don't want to hurt anybody else, but I can hurt me. What drugs you got? What alcohol? Let's drink, let's party, So I kind of went back and forth through that path. But when I got my GED, it was kind of a weird story. I have to go back for a second. I have sleep apnea really bad.
Okay.
My whole life, I think I had sleep apnea, and I felt like I was like dumb. Like, I couldn't get anything in school.
Okay.
Like, I hardly ever went.
It just, you couldn't connect some dots and
I couldn't. Well, long story short is like I barely knew how to read till the 5th grade. I took 5th grade twice because I went to 6th grade. It was Hosford Middle School. Mm-hmm. I sat down in, I guess it was like homeroom, and they put down a syllabus in front of us. I didn't know what a syllabus was. Oh. They're reading all this stuff, and I was like, I don't know what these words are. I got up in the middle of class and I walked out. Oh. and I was like, I can't do this. Like, I'm done. I felt so freaking stupid. Mm-hmm. And come to find out, after everybody was like talking to me because of school, panicked, I was missing.
Yeah.
They finally got a hold of my dad, and after they kind of figured out why, and they did, I think I took like a test, like kind of like a placement thing.
Yeah, I remember those tests.
And they were like, you should probably go back.
Oh, damn.
Because what ended up happening was, and I remember this perfectly, is I would have straight Fs, but they would give me Ds so I could stay with my class.
Oh, so they were looking out for you as much as they could.
I think so.
Yeah,
I mean, really, what somebody
like
should have
switching
done
your
is
grade all the way to A.
Yeah, but I think what somebody should have done has been like, what's the disconnect here? Yeah. Like, I wish somebody
Can we
would
get
have
you
done
like
that.
a tutor or like
something? But who knows? I might not have accepted it either. So, I mean, life's kind of funny that way. But I wanted to preface that because I wanted to share that part, because when I got my GED, I had to relearn like all sorts of stuff and learn stuff that I didn't even really know.
Yeah.
Like, I had to go all the way back and like learn fractions and multiply, because I missed. The funny thing was, so my dad tried to homeschool us in 3rd grade. He was working all the time, and nothing ever happened. I missed like it was either 2nd or 3rd grade. I missed all of that. So I never learned like my multiplication tables, never learned, any of that stuff, and jumped right into like 3rd grade. And that's where I was like, I got really behind. And then I was like, I felt like I was so dumb because I wasn't sleeping though. And that's what I figured what happened, because like, it was just a weird experience. I felt like I didn't belong. I wasn't registering anything that they were trying to teach me.
Yeah.
It just wasn't clicking.
Yeah.
But when I got my GED, that changed everything. I was like, oh, I can do this if I can sit down and like focus.
Yeah.
And
that spark of like, I get this. I can get this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was writing, I did, you have to write an essay, you have to go through reading comprehension and then the math. And like, I was like, holy crap, I'm understanding this stuff. Maybe I'm not that stupid.
Yeah.
So it was kind of interesting. But that kind of, all those little things kind of like kept like propelling me forward and gaining momentum.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. But also like seeing like my sister and my brother, like, dude, my sister like finished high school living out of her car. Like,
ooh, so she's a freaking badass. She's a smart cookie then.
Well, she is. Yeah. Like, she wasn't in her car for like a long time, but she had to like finish out school. She didn't have anywhere to go. So she was, she was staying in her car. And like, my brother and my sister both are freaking, they're soldiers. I love those guys to death.
Yeah.
I look up to both of them.
Good.
Because my sister, she's survived a brain tumor.
Whoa.
She graduated high school. She has her doctorates now in like education and teaching. Like, she's got twin boys and young daughter and a husband, and she's been through a lot of shit and
She's
came
still
out
here.
on top.
She's still here.
Yeah, she's freaking amazing. And my brother too, Michael.
Yeah.
You know, beautiful family. He, you know, they own their house. They're out in Idaho. They're freaking doing amazing.
Yeah.
He's got, you know, a great job that really means a lot to him.
Good.
And he's freaking doing it. And all of us didn't think, well, except for Rachel. I think she had a good idea where she was going. She was locked in.
Yeah.
But we didn't really have an idea of like what we were going to like have. Like we didn't think that this was achievable because I just bought my first house just a few years ago.
Uh-huh.
I didn't know that was ever going to happen in my lifetime.
Well, at that age too, where you have to kind of go through the hardships of growing up, that you're just like, okay, I think this is what I want. I think this is achievable. And then once things start lining up, you know, like, you know, getting the GED and finally be able to like get that like aha moment of like, oh, okay, so that's how you read it. For me, it was like I asked my dad to read a sentence of the textbook because I was like having troubles. But realistically, I was like, I just didn't want to read it. I just didn't want to like do this. And then when he read it, and I was like, oh, yeah, that question I need to answer is coming from that sentence that you just read. It's like, wow, okay, maybe I should do this more often. Maybe I should actually like, you know, buckle myself down. But I also had the worst time trying to, you know, getting from grade to grade was fine, but the math was the toughest part for me because once I got to community college, I had those moments of like, God, am I just like the dumbest person in the world that I can't pass a math class like on one try? Like I had to repeat it twice, and then I moved forward, and then repeat that one twice, and I remember. Did you ever watch the show Tosh.0?
Yeah.
Yeah, there was one line he said where I think he was like talking about a clip where the girl, I think it was the person on the clip, said like they're just a bad test taker, and he said, "You're not a bad test taker, you're just dumb," and that just kind of stuck with me for a while. I'm like, oh, I can't pass these tests. I must be dumb. And then that's when when my time with community college ended, and I was like, yep, closing that book. I'm gonna go journalism because those are all project based, and I could do that. And I was excelling, and I was feeling more confident. So, what did you feel was the next step after you got that GED? What did you think was gonna, you know, okay, I got this. I think this could happen for me next. Or you like, what were you setting your eyes to?
Well, I think it was kind of tough because I was still kind of coming out of, you know, I got my GED. That was a huge moment.
Yep.
After that, it was trying to figure out what I wanted to do now that, you know, options were there that I didn't know were there before. And luckily I had like people in my family, like, you know, I can look at them and be like, oh, they're successful. They're doing this, they're doing that, trying to think about what I want to do. But at the same time, you still have like all that like negative shit that got put in your head or that you think of yourself as like, okay, you know what? I'm probably going to be in a warehouse. I'll just get a job at
hints of imposter syndrome too, of like,
oh, dude, I got that bad. I still deal with it. I just do it anyways. Like, I don't care. But the one thing that kept me going was, I guess it didn't really keep me going. The one thing that kept me going was like my family. I didn't want to let anybody down. And I also didn't want to hurt anybody, especially after going through the stuff that I went through, like, you know, when I got arrested. So it was more or less like, okay, I can still party, but try to control it.
Yep.
And I just had a huge issue. Like, I was drinking all the time, and you know, whatever drugs were around, it was like okay for me. Like, I wasn't like into one thing. It was like, what do you got? Like, let's just party.
Yeah. What's the menu items?
Yeah, do a combination meal. That's when I like moved, because I was around 19 when I finally got everything like finished. I was off probation, I was good, but I knew I needed to leave. I thought it was the location I was at was the problem. So I move out. Next thing you know, I'm still only 2 hours away from Portland, so I would come back here on the weekends and I would party. I'm like, oh, this isn't working out. Like, you know, a year later, I end up moving out to Hermiston, and you know, it was the same stuff. Like, it was like I was attracting like people with that same mentality. You know, I'd run in freaking, oh, this guy's a drug dealer. Like, I just befriended a drug dealer like my first week up here. And it's like, okay, I moved back to Portland after that. I'm not going to go into any details because I don't want anybody get in trouble.
So in my head, when I think of you in Hermiston, because Hermiston's a smaller town when compared to Portland, did you find yourself did you think it was going to be harder to find trouble in Hermiston because it's such a small town, or you're like,
not necessarily? It was more or less I didn't really know anybody.
Gotcha.
And I was like, oh, okay, maybe I can have like a little bit of a clean slate.
Yeah.
And back then I was pretty and I'm still an open person. If I see somebody, I'm like, what's up? You kind of connect with somebody, but in certain ways. Like I remember I connected with you. I was like, I know this is a good guy. I connected with you right away. You and I started BS, and next thing you know, I gave you a big hug. You and I were good.
Yeah.
I looked at somebody when I was first couple weeks I was up there in Hermiston. I looked at him. I was like, I know what you do. I was like, what's up? Where's the party at? And next thing you know, it goes from there.
Sure.
So it was kind of one of those things that after going through those motions, though, it was one of those realizations like, okay, it's not the place, it's me. I'm the one common denominator here. So it was kind of and like I said, all these kind of points in my life propelled me forward, making better decisions. It just took me a little bit longer. I
mean, that's fine.
Yeah.
You're still here.
Yeah.
And so when did you find, I mean, obviously printing is from your dad's profession. Before you actually jumped into the profession of printing, you did go to Blue Mountain Community College to study history and business. So making that pivot from, spending some time there to just go into printing, how did that work out?
Well, first, so I actually ended up moving up to Idaho before that.
Oh, okay.
So I moved up. So me and my brother reconnected, Michael. There was a big gap where him and I didn't really talk. He didn't talk to anybody. Him and I started reconnecting a little bit, and he was like, why don't you move up? I started going to College of Southern Idaho. And I was like, he was like, dude, it's fine up here. You can come up here. We can go to school and, reconnect and figure things out. So I actually got enrolled. I was like, I had people backing me up now. There's so much stuff I'm skipping, but I don't want to bring it up either. But
that just means that we're gonna have a part 2.
Yeah. So a lot of people were getting my back. They were taking me out shopping for school stuff.
Wow.
And my mom actually drove me up to Twin Falls, Idaho.
Okay.
So I went out there, and my brother wasn't there. I love you. I should have told them. I didn't think I was really going to dig into any of this stuff. I should have told Michael and Rachel, hey, I might talk about you.
I'm sure they'll be fine.
Oh,
if not, then obviously,
you just
let me know. Let me know.
With my family.
If I need to send a care package, just let me know.
No, it's fine. I'm not bringing it up or anything.
Yeah,
but they, which was fine. I wasn't mad at him but I was like, where the hell are you? And then he was down in Nampa, Idaho, and doing his thing.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, well, I'll try to go to school. I'm still not used to this. I was my success ended in education at my GED. Yeah. So I jumped into the school full bore. Yeah. Got all my classes. I was registered. I was ready to go. I'd show up to classes. I was 21. I was the only one 21 in the dorms. Well, one of very few. That turned out to be a problem. Now I
can imagine. Yeah. We'll let other people kind of fill in the gaps on what a 21-year-old in the dorms can get up to.
Yeah. So that is what it is. I never bought alcohol for somebody though.
Yeah.
I ended up drinking a lot more though because I had all this freedom. I had a dorm.
And people literally right next to you.
Yeah, so many people around. I was going to parties though, all the time, just out in the country. Mm-hmm. I'd love partying with these dudes because they can freaking drink, and a lot of them were, wild. These guys have been bucking hay since they were 3.
So they're big dudes.
I was hanging around some big dudes.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun, and it was humbling in times. You come from Portland, you thought at the very least I'm from the city.
Yeah.
I got humbled quick. running my mouth. But so it was a nice little learning experience out there. But, I ended up leaving just because I wasn't doing good there.
Yeah.
So I moved down to Nampa and lived with my brother there. And, him and I had a 1-bedroom apartment. I was sleeping on a couch. He was working. He got me a job at where he was at.
Wow.
So in a warehouse, and we were mostly just kind of like a storage and transfer like facility and moving company. So we did that for a while. I ended up I'm going to skip a few spots just to get
That's
to where
totally fine. That's totally fine.
Blue Mountain Community College. But I ended up with a girlfriend. I'll speed things up. Went to beauty school, dropped out.
Wait a minute. Time out. You can't speed fast. Beauty school?
I went to beauty school I can't remember how many hours I put in. I think it was like 800. It was quite a bit.
What was it? What'd you work on? Was it hair or was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it was a full on beauty school thing. And because I was cutting people's hair all the time.
Oh.
I would cut my brother's hair. I cut my hair.
I was about to say,
I was
that
doing
looks clean.
fades. I didn't do this.
Oh, okay.
No.
Okay.
I have somebody else do it now. I don't know if I could cut hair anymore. But I had some pretty clean fades. I was getting good at it. My girlfriend at the time was a beautician. She worked in a salon. And she was like, why don't you go to beauty school? She's like, you would make so much freaking money. And she talked me into it. I ended up going. And the funny thing was the best thing that I was good at there was wrapping perms. I actually got good at wrapping perms. Yeah, I did it 25 minutes which supposedly is pretty quick to wrap a perm. But
nice.
It was fun.
Yeah.
I liked it, but I ended up, after a whole bunch of stuff happened, I ended up having to move back to Hermiston.
Gotcha.
My sister let me move back.
Okay.
And instead of transferring, because that's in Oregon, the closest school to there was in Washington and Tri-Cities.
Yep. Okay.
My hours didn't transfer right.
So you had to repeat some things.
I would have had to have repeated quite a bit of hours. I would have had to have knocked off quite a bit. And I was like, I'm not going to do that. I decided to go to Blue Mountain Community College.
Okay.
Because she gave me that opportunity. She was like, you can babysit. You don't have to pay rent. You can go to school. She was going to school there at the time, starting out her path to now her doctorate. She's a doctor in education. And,
wow.
But yeah, she went so far.
Good for
it's
her.
So crazy. Not crazy as in unbelievable. It's absolutely believable that she did it.
It's just crazy that it's there. She achieved it. It's just wow.
Well, just how long I know she's been working on it. Now that it's done, it's kind of wow.
Yeah.
That was a journey.
Yeah.
But, and God bless them because they helped me out a lot through that.
Good.
That was kind of that final change for me because that's when I stopped drinking. I didn't drink through that whole time that I was with them.
Yeah.
Well, it was the first time I stopped drinking.
How did it feel to just, those first couple months of just saying, I'm going to put this down. I'm going to just focus on what I need to focus on.
I felt good, but I went into this weird space because so I still didn't know I had sleep apnea yet at that time. And I felt like I was slow, but I was sleeping more hours, but not really hitting REM sleep like I should.
Okay.
So I was getting my sleep, but I was eating like crap, and I was going to school full time and, helping out around their house. And, but I was able to focus though. So that was I was just focused on school. And next thing you know, I was getting straight A's in history, math, worked my way up to calculus.
Nice.
And, reading, writing, all that stuff. I was in college courses at that time finally, and I was getting pretty much straight A's, but I was at the point, something brought me back to Portland. I can't remember what it was. And it was mostly my dad, but something triggered it, and I can't remember what it was. So I ended up coming back to Portland, and I did not finish college just because I think I got so burnt out, even though I felt like I kind of propelled through.
You made good momentum.
Yeah.
You felt like you were in a good speed.
I felt like I was in a good spot. I was like, this isn't for me though.
Okay.
I was like, history, I don't know what this is going to get me.
Okay.
I'm interested in it, but I didn't know what I was wanting to do. And I still kind of had those things that were just holding me back. And I was like, college just isn't for me.
Yeah.
But I learned all the basic stuff that I should have learned, years ago.
Yeah.
And that was the one thing that like felt better for me is like, okay, well, now I'm kind of where I should have been.
Yeah.
And I'm caught up. And so, when I moved back to Portland, I started hanging around old friends and stuff, and it just wasn't working out. So I ended up moving in with my uncle, where my dad was and my grandma was, and ended up getting a job at Ivy. They needed somebody temporary.
Yeah. Okay.
And just to help out with a couple of projects. I did so well. They were like, well, why don't you come back? And then 2 weeks later, when I came back, they were like, can you run shipping? I was like, yeah.
Hey.
They ended up letting somebody go, and I remember his name. I'm not going to say it, but I felt bad. I'm not sure exactly what happened. But
yeah, he's just
to that guy, like
his time ended.
It is what it is. I'm not sure why, but I know he's doing like amazing now. Like whatever, like
yeah,
that probably doesn't even matter to him anymore. Where he's
it was a blessing.
So.
It was all it sucked at the moment, but he'll do fine.
But
he's doing fine.
Yeah, and I ended up doing that, and that's how I got into the print industry.
Okay,
and I was running shipping and doing fulfillment for everything, which was kind of another blessing, just because I got to start out in some of the most critical areas, even though it's not really the face of the project. I'm behind the scenes.
Yeah,
but some of the most critical parts is how you pack up these projects and get them into store. Because once that's the first, interaction that they're going to have with this project, how it's organized, what they're seeing when they open up that package, and what do they need to do first. So I was able to develop some processes back there to make sure everything was, dialed in for whoever was going to receive, this kit of marketing materials.
Yep.
So it was just one of those things that starting out there probably helped me out a lot more throughout my career when I got up into project management and account management.
Yeah. What did your dad say when you made this shift and you started picking up momentum with Ivy and things were kind of working out in the print industry again?
I mean, he was excited. We didn't really talk too much about that stuff, but yeah, I think he was still kind of in his own world. He's doing his thing.
Yeah.
But we would talk about it. He thought it was funny. He always thinks it's funny because a lot of my other family was in the print industry too. So dude, I skipped over so much stuff.
No.
I had 3 uncles, aunts, a couple cousins in the print industry.
Wow. So, it really just embedded in the DNA.
Yeah, but it's not like something that we all talk about, and it's not like something we're gathered around and being like, "Hey, what innovations have come out this year?" This isn't.
Did you read that magazine that had this article about this?
It's not the family business. It was what everybody got sucked into. So that's as far as it goes, deep into our DNA.
Yeah.
It's surface level for sure.
Because my dad was a graphic designer and he's like an avid golfer. I remember when I could not pick up the graphic designing portion of his hobbies or his passions, but when it came to golfing, I would get some swings in. I'd just practice with his clubs, and he's like, "Oh, you should be a golfer." I saw the excitement in his eyes, and then when it didn't happen, obviously it was fine, but when the podcast was kind of up and going and finding a flow, then I saw his passion and his curiosity starting to lock into what I was doing. So it was one of those oh, he's paying attention to me. Oh, this is weird. Okay. I took in his ideas. I told him no because I was I feel like he basically was you should talk to everyone that you went to high school with or that is affiliated with your high school and just try to do a series about them. I was like, no. So I was like, that's a great idea, but I at that time I was just I want to keep my general mission with this to be as broad as possible so I can talk with folks like yourself that have this story that I had some idea of based on our talks leading up there, but no idea whatsoever where that was going to go. I was like, wow, damn dude, you got a lot going on. So I'm now starting to see that with my brother, and he and my dad were always just at each other's we had very surface level conversations technology, sports, or whatnot. And then when my dad was showing interest, my brother was starting to show interest. And now that my dad's no longer with us, my brother's still finding ways to jokingly be interested in what I'm doing. He's like, "Hey, you should have this podcast show called Keoni Chats After Dark."
That's funny.
I could, but So yeah, if it's not from your dad, what are your other family members saying? Like, was there any kind of like anyone that gave you like a welcome to the bloodline business or anything like that?
Well, it was kind of like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. There was jokes around it. It was just kind of one of those things that like this industry is exhausting, so we don't talk about it.
Okay.
There's definitely bonding though over it because a lot of people go through a lot of stuff in the print industry. Like, it's a tough industry.
Yeah.
You know, I've seen marriages get ruined because of how many people have to get how many hours you put in. You know, like you can have 10 projects going on, but it's constantly changing. You're trying to keep up and communicating with everybody.
Yeah.
Whether it's the client, it's in pre-press, you know, it's out in production floor, it's shipping. And then it's, you know, once it gets to the store, like you're constantly running down stuff for that too. Like what was missing? What got damaged? What do we got to reprint? You know,
Yeah.
how can we do better next time? And then having, you know, postmortem calls about the project and then starting the new one and then
rinse, repeat. Yeah.
So, I mean, it's a tough industry to be in, but it's also rewarding and fun. It's crazy. Like somebody I know used to say, we're all here because we're not all there. And
I like that, actually.
yeah.
That's interesting.
Good guy. He said that and that resonated with me because I was like, we're just kind of a glutton for punishment, I guess. But it's the relationships that you build in this industry are definitely far more deeper than I've ever had anywhere else.
Wow.
Like, you know, when you go through a few projects with people and you see all the work and collaboration and creativity involved, you just kind of build a bond with people that you wouldn't necessarily build in other industries. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of industries you would. Like, I'm not talking about, like, you know, it'd probably be different for a police or firefighters. It's a little different.
A little bit. But also,
you know what I mean?
That's an extreme example there.
Well, I know. I'm just saying, I'm not saying like across the board.
Sure. Yeah.
But it's definitely there, you know.
Yeah.
And I've gotten to know so many great people like in this industry that really were uplifting and helped me through a lot of my growth. You know, took me under their wing and kind of taught me, like, because I didn't know anything about project management or anything like that, but they saw something in me. And at that point in my life, it was the perfect timing because I was able to identify opportunities. And that was like the biggest struggle that I think a lot of other people might have too, is like you might have opportunities, but you might not know how to identify them and then ask for help. Like,
how do you accept help?
And how do you accept it too?
How do you
pride. How do I do it?
Yeah.
Like, I had to kind of, throughout my life, it took me a long time to just kind of get humbled with, you know, knowing who I am. Yeah. Instead of being somebody that I'm not. So it was at that point where it was like, I felt more grateful that somebody was willing to help me out or give me feedback, or whether it was, you know, constructive criticism, or like I learned how to kind of just center myself and be like, you know what, he's trying to help me. I need to take this and grow. Yeah. And instead of being like, you know, defensive or
this guy's down my throat. Fuck this guy.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was kind of one of those things. It's like you start looking at management differently. Because I worked in warehousing most of my life and restaurants and stuff. And, you know, usually, you know, when you got workers at that level, you know, all we did was look at management as that's them and this is us. Yeah. That's it. You kind of had that mentality. Yeah. How I kind of grew out of that was like looking at things a little bit differently, you know, and then you got to see from their perspective all the stuff that they have to worry about. Now, I'm not saying like, you know, people in leadership don't make mistakes or they might have a, you know, misguided way of doing things in some cases, but some of them don't either. You know? They're just people trying to do their job. And sometimes it, you know, it sucks and sometimes it's great. But, you know, when you have somebody reaching a hand out, offering to help, I was like at the point in my life where I could accept it.
What was kind of the early days of you as a project manager? What's a mistake that you made that kind of sticks with you today?
There was a lot of them. I think one of that's a tough one. just because it's different when you make like little mistakes where you mess up on a grid, a production grid, and you put it in, and you have somebody coming back up and throwing it at your desk, being like, "What is this crap? What did you write up on this job?"
Yeah.
But I think some of the biggest mistakes that stick with me was not when I was kind of jumping around between like account management and project management.
Okay.
Probably a little bit earlier than I should have been.
Yeah.
And
glad you recognize that now.
in the beginning of it, I've always been an outspoken person. Not afraid to tell you what I think for the most part.
Yeah.
And some of the ways that I've seen clients get treated, I wish I would have jumped in a little bit sooner or been a little bit more forceful.
Okay.
And forceful is the wrong word, but definitely a little bit more.
Just more draw the line in the sand. And,
yeah.
Yeah.
I wish I would have done that a little bit more, a little bit sooner. And now I'm fairly outspoken, way more than what I used to be. I don't like, when it comes to the teams that I work with, whether it's on the vendor side or it's the client side, like I don't see a difference between those two.
They should be treated the same.
For the most part. I mean, clients always the
should
client.
be a little more.
There's a different.
Yeah.
Well, you have a job to do.
Yeah.
The client's coming to you for a service and a product and a good. Like, you need to supply those. Bottom line.
Mm-hmm.
So that doesn't necessarily go away. But that does not mean that I treat my vendors with disrespect.
Fair.
Or unfairly.
Fair.
Like,
yeah.
So there's a partnership that everybody kind of needs to agree on in there. And we all want that same thing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of where my head's at is like, there's that partnership. It's not just a client vendor relationship with me. Like, that's kind of beyond that point. Like, we got to really work together to make this work, or else that's where you start running into problems during production and during execution, during installation of all these graphics. If you don't have a good relationship with your client, or if you don't have a good relationship with your vendor partners or your production team or anybody up and down the line, like, you see those hiccups.
Okay. Okay.
There's people that, like, I've always had the mentality, even while I was in production, if you're working overtime on a project of mine, I'm going to be right there with you.
Yeah. I'm going to be right there in the trenches with you.
Yeah.
And we're going to
I'll
get
come
this together.
help.
Yeah.
Let's freaking do this together. Like, there's no way I would leave somebody hanging. And I think that's what kind of built a lot of my relationships now that I've been blessed to having in this industry.
Yeah.
Is, I don't want to let anybody down. It kills me when that happens. So it also puts a lot of stress on me too. So I got to be careful. But
because also, letting someone down in the work capacity, it's a small version of, like, physically harming someone because of the actions of, what you did in your earlier life. There's some connection there of, like, I want to make sure you're taken care of, because it's kind of with you as now the head honcho for, Evoke, then it's like, you gotta, make sure that everyone's taken care of properly. And that can be exhausting, because I'm sure, with as much experience as you gain with Ivy, Premiere, and everywhere else in between, you just want to be, do you still see yourself as, like, one of those people that are in the warehouse doing the grind day in, day out? Or since you are now the owner, do you see yourself more as, like, I'm going to kind of let other people run and just be there if they need me? Well,
the one thing that I've learned over the years is you got to trust process. You got to trust people to be able to do their job as well.
Yeah.
That was one thing that I had to learn the hard way of overworking myself was, I thought I had to take on everything. You don't have to. Like, there's great people. If you communicate well with your team and you trust that they do their work. But that's what project managers exist, because projects don't run well.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. Because if projects did run well, then there would be no need for them.
Yeah, there would be a need for them. You just put in a thing, and all of a sudden it gets done. Like, cool. Well, but, like, there's a reason for that that place, that position. And, you know, that's to make sure that people are accountable for their part in that project. So whether it's timelines, responsibility, ways of communicating, that stuff usually comes from, you know, that project manager. And that's where that role I see myself more as, even though I have to wear like the sales hat, the IT hat, you know, I'm wearing all these different hats. It doesn't really matter. And it's not like I'm like bursting at the seams with like work either. So it doesn't really matter. I just started everything. So one of the things though is I do have backing with a lot of great partners and people. So
good.
That's the thing is like, you know, and they know the industry just as much as I do. They're going to lean on me just as much as I'm going to lean on them for what they do best. Yeah. And that's produce displays and retail communication and marketing. Like that's what they do.
Yeah. Let them do what they do. And you just make sure everything else just keeps moving.
Yeah. It hits home with me when you hear a lot of entrepreneurs or people that have been so successful talk about, you know, making sure that you hire people that are smarter than you. That makes sense to me. I'm going to partner up with people that I trust, one, and two, know what they're doing. And who are willing to collaborate, you know, be kind of just in the thick of it with me. Let's all work together and make this successful. Whatever it's either the project or just the business in whole. It kind of is what it is. Like,
how do you handle praise and then how do you give it out?
That's a good question. I like praise. I don't take it well though. I get embarrassed, like actually pretty easy when it comes to that kind of stuff.
Really?
Yeah. And thankfully, you know, I've gotten a lot of praise, I've done a lot of good things. It took me a long time to be able to admit that, which kind of gave me the strength and the courage to even open up a business. Like, it was kind of like, just freaking do it. Like, you've heard all this stuff. People praise you all the time. Yeah. Like, you hear it, just go do it. And it was like, you know, after having a talk with, you know, some partners, I'm not going to say their names either.
That's fine. That's fine. Yeah. This is about you.
But they gave me an opportunity of a lifetime. And honestly, it would have been, in my opinion, disrespectful if I didn't take it. Like, yeah. You know, they gave me an opportunity and I plan on seeing it forward, even though this is a tough time to jump into this industry. You know, I started it in October where, you know, finalized everything by November. It's like, it's holiday season.
That's a good point.
Yeah. Everybody's already got their projects in for holiday.
Yeah.
And nobody wants to be bothered about other stuff because I know they're busy.
Yeah.
So
all the Christmas related graphics are going to be already set up too at that point.
Yeah. All your seasonal and your sales like better be in there and, or at least in production, ready to go. Like, but so it was kind of a weird time to even jump into this. So, but like, it was fine. I kind of took that time to kind of center myself, think about what I want to do, what my focus was, and start reaching out to people and just kind of slowly build up that relationship. Because I didn't want to just jump in and be like, hey, you guys got projects for me. I just opened up a business. Yeah. I didn't want to be like that. I just want to be like, hey, this is what I'm doing. What do you got going on? I just want to take things slow, not like try to jump into this all crazy.
And then when it came to, you know, you got the green light with, you know, the backers, supporters. So when it came to developing the website, what was like, you know, the first obstacle that you realized you had to overcome, and B, how'd you do it? Well,
there was two things with it. One, you know, the technical portion of it, like, and what service I want to utilize. I ended up going with like Squarespace. Yeah. But there was like, I had to do a lot of digging into the different ones.
Make sure it's the right choice.
Make sure it was the right choice. I ended up kind of making the wrong one, but no, it was a good choice. I like Squarespace, but the only problem was like, I wanted the security through Microsoft and Exchange, and they don't really work well together. Gotcha. So, but I was able to actually learn and figure out how to, you know, link those, you know, how I ended up doing it. This is like IT stuff. I was like just watching videos and like doing it at the same time, trying to figure everything out. So it was
good. That's what I do too for any IT questions at work. I'm like, give me like 10 minutes.
Yeah. So like, making sure that the domain and everything was linked with Microsoft was kind of a difficult thing to do and figure out. But other than that, like the website design and all that stuff, like I'm not a designer. And it was kind of wrapping my head around, the whole learning about like SEO and how to word and lay out your website was kind of a difficult thing to do. Because plus you're also nervous. Like I'm trying to figure out what my voice is, how I want to say it. And, it was kind of a difficult learning curve for me. But I'm still working on it. It's up and running, but it's...
Where can people find the website?
Huh?
You want to give a quick plug? Where can they find it?
Sure. It's evokevisualsolutions.com.
I'll put the link in the description so people can find it also.
All right. That works. But yeah, website's up. I just got to make some changes. I know what to do now though. Like I know how I want everything rearranged and how I'm going to have things read and what imagery I want to use.
So when I was in journalism school, one of the things I had to do was make a website. And so when I did that, I had an idea of like all the other websites I've seen that other students have made, and then B, like all the other websites just in general that I've been on in my whole life. So it's like, okay, I have an idea of how the flow I would want this to lead into that, or if they click here, I would like to, have this show up. So when it came to actually like sitting down and like trying to figure out how to, get that feature enabled, I remember just being so frustrated and trying to like, think of like, okay, if I switch this up, then it's gonna be fine. But then down the line, I don't know why I was thinking like, I was using this format for a good time. I was like, okay, this looks good. And then when I switch it up, I'm just like, oh, is it gonna cause more questions than like, more solutions of like people that want to find me and like try to find where my other podcast episodes are. Are they going to be fine, or are they just going to like try and figure out and then just give up? Do you have any kind of like scale responses like that in your head when it came to the website right now? And
Yes, a lot of it actually. So, and the funny thing is like after being on the brand side for a little while, I kind of learned a little bit more about why and how they would interact with a vendor. So,
that's a good one.
One of the difficult things is, and it's not about like the lack of care or anything like that. It's about time. Yeah. Like, and they already have like, so this is B2B sales for me. I'm not selling to just consumers. Yeah. It's tough to think about, but like nobody has time to read this stuff. Like,
that's the point. Yeah.
Yeah. What can you do for me? That's it. Like, and can you get to it quickly on the site? And that's what I need to do. And what one of the things is like, I'm going to reformat it to make sure it's reading a little bit better left to right. Okay. Especially with imagery, fill in some blank spaces here and there, but making sure that, I'm going to have, kind of the problem, solution, and a CTA. Okay. And then just kind of go from there and build it down and make sure everything's just quick and easy to read through. There's going to be, I'm going to try to keep it simple. I'll have an about, maybe something on sustainability and, but everything's just going to be like maybe a couple of pages. I'm going to try to keep that front side short. Okay. Most of the stuff that I'm kind of building off of is like relationships anyway. So if you want to go take a look at the website, great. It's not a big deal. Like people know how to get a hold of me.
Gotcha. Okay.
And I'm on LinkedIn most of the time. So, which is what we were joking about earlier. I'm not on any other social media really. It's just LinkedIn.
He's a ghost. He is a ghost. What has Hannah said about the progress so far with the business?
She's excited. She loves it. She's, like she's not like into what I do, so it's but at the same time she sees me doing something and she knows that I'm happy. That's one of the things that I love so much about her, especially going through all this. She didn't care about my career path. She didn't care that
she just wants you happy.
Yeah. She did not care. Her and I met before I moved away from Premiere. Like, so, you know, it's not like, you know, as I moved up, like, she was happy for me, but she didn't care that I was like working with closely or at a brand.
Yeah.
Like, she didn't care about that. So it was kind of nice just to have somebody get my back and look for my best interest versus, no, you should probably keep making the money you're making. She didn't care about that.
I don't care about your happiness. Just make sure that the food is filled.
Her and I could hop in the truck and just go. She wouldn't care.
That's awesome.
As long as we're together, we're fine.
Yeah. Because I've had the same conversation. So I'm in the financial field now. So, you know, just talking with my partner about like my day and some of the things I do on a typical basis, I can see sometimes she's trying to like keep up and ask questions and be like, oh, okay. So why, you know, she asks like logical questions too. She's like, so why would this owner not do this? And why are they not thinking about that? And, so it's like, I appreciate that she's like, you know, giving it an effort to try and understand what I do. But then sometimes when it comes to like that, and then you switch it to sports, then we're both just like hounding at each other because like we both love like football. So it's like, it's great to have that, you know, one person's willing to learn, the other person wants to also learn. Like you have that curiosity, you know, about each other's lives. And then, what is something that both of you have in common that you're just like, can talk to each other about hours about?
That's we don't even have to have anything in common just to talk. Like her and I have conversations like constantly throughout the day about whatever. It doesn't matter. We can get into a deep conversation about something we saw online versus something stupid we saw on TV. But her and I have kind of similar backgrounds in life. And it's kind of interesting to have somebody there who can understand you a little bit more. Yeah. Especially with family dynamics or, you know, alcohol, you know, stuff like that. But, like her and I are kind of figuring out our own little hobbies and stuff.
Oh,
and
nice.
Learning as we go. Like she's really starting to get into like gardening. And
that's good.
Yeah. I'm loving it, especially because, you know, who knows what's going to happen with the food supply. Right?
True.
I'm kind of messing around, but
and I mean, like as we're talking, you know, we're about to wrap up March, and now like the sunny weather's coming in Portland at least, and so you know that what better way to spend the nice weather than to be outside in the garden?
Oh yeah,
so that's awesome
for sure. And you know, her and I are both kind of learning that together. So yeah, which is fun. I kind of let her take the lead on that one though, and because that's like I want her to have that hobby, and I'll just be there to help and eat. So
you're like, just tell me where to dig, and I will dig.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of what it is right now.
Yeah,
but
and that's I think again that's you know, having some shared hobbies, but also, you know, there's just so many things that, you know, in our time of reconnecting with each other, you talk about Hannah a good amount. And I think, you know, seeing the love you have for her, obviously I haven't met her yet, but I imagine it's the same reciprocated. You know, I just can't say how happy I am for you and the marriage and the wedding and the upcoming wedding, I should say. That's going to be exciting. I can just imagining like all your print friends somehow creating like a standboard cutout of you. Yeah. And just putting it everywhere.
That's funny because there was like, for some reason I was on the camera all the time at like, there was pictures of me at Premiere for a long time, I guess, of me eating, what was it, waffles and ice cream or something? Yeah. It was like a picture that was taken like during one of the last acquisitions and we were moving out of Ivy. Yeah. The Ivy building. Yeah. And somebody like one of the guys from the photo studio came over. It was like, I gotta take your picture while you're eating this. And I just got this big old grin on my face with a beanie on, and that got hung up in the print house. And so after I left there, I heard it was still up like almost a year later. It's just my face up there. I think it's gone now, but yeah.
Unbelievable.
I thought it was funny.
Those bastards.
Yeah, there's pictures of me all over the place, I guess.
Kind of one of the last things I want to ask you is what was it like trying to accept Hannah's attention and affection, and just, you know, how has it evolved your acceptance of it from day one to where we are today?
It was interesting because her and I clicked like right away because she was really open. I took her out. We met online. I took her out. We went to a pub out in St. Helens. And first thing, she ordered her steak rare. I was like,
whoa,
okay.
Hey.
All right. I was like, you're definitely good.
Yeah.
That's a lot of points.
There you go.
And I had a coffee with mine, and she was like, oh, can I have a drink? And I was like, yeah. There you go. And I was like, she's not shy. She was just like right there with me. Next thing you know, her and I were like, because we try our best to like figure out how to, obviously like 2020 and everything was like crazy and health stuff got away from us. But in the beginning, because we met in late 2018, like December of 2018, we had our first date like right in that New Year area. And then we went on a hike like a couple of days later.
Nice.
And then next thing you know, we're just on the phone all the time. And then I was driving out there all the time, and like her and I just clicked because we had the same personality. We talked so much trash to each other. It's freaking hilarious, to the point where we have a safe word that we need to use if we want to have a serious conversation.
Oh,
Yeah. Her and I just like to have fun, and we talk a lot of trash. We tease each other all the time. And we like to play around. We like to go out. We love to go out to eat. We love to play. Like, so it just kind of developed. She's just one of those like people that I just can't see myself without.
Good.
And that was it. It wasn't hard accepting anything from her.
Yeah.
And she was one of those like, she would take me out to eat. She would buy me coffee. She would like.
Yeah.
I don't let people buy me anything. I don't like that at all.
It's a weird feeling. Even like at work, if someone's offering to buy me coffee, I'm like, oh, I'm fine, thank you.
Yeah,
And,
I usually pay.
Yeah.
I'll buy somebody else something. That's fine.
Yeah.
I do not like it when I don't know why. It's not some weird thing. It's not some power trip. I promise.
I can imagine because like what I think about when someone offers me coffee, I'm like, okay, now I feel like the debt I have to buy you something. It's like one of those like it was a nice gesture. But now I have to like equal it out. I have to do the same so the slate is clean. Yeah. So it was a weird thinking I remember having, but probably not the same for you.
No, it's not. I get that though.
Yeah,
I totally understand that. I don't have those thoughts in my head though. Yeah. Like I just don't like. I don't know. Like if I'm with you having a coffee, that means I feel some sort of way about you. Like, you and I are good.
Yeah,
and I like it's just something that's ingrained in me where. Nope, I got it. Like, I want you to relax. I want you to be comfortable. Like, if I'm sitting down having a coffee with you, like, I find you as a friend. Like, and I want to help. I want to be there. I want to be engaged with the conversation. I'll buy the coffee. I want you to be comfortable. Like, that's kind of where my head's at.
Okay.
I don't like it when people buy me a coffee just because, I don't know what it is or even food. Like, I don't like it. I'll let Hannah do it, but she knows I don't like it because like I'm quick.
It's a way that she can kind of like,
yeah, kind of, yeah. She'll yell at me sometimes, be like, "Put your wallet away, shut up, sit down." It's like, all right, fine. But,
growing up, my brother he would buy me all sorts of things. Like I would tag along. He's 2 years older, so he's like I would tag along on all of the things he goes to do with his friends, and if we go to like we go get food, then he'll just buy my food. That happened all the way until college, where he and I spent like my first 2 years together. And then when he left, there are times where we do still hang out, and he still buys my stuff. And there are times like he knew like I have like other financial commitments that kind of tie up everything, so I can't really contribute. But this last night when we went to go get pizza, like I paid for him, and I could tell he was just like weird, like confused a little bit. He's like, wait, you don't have money though. I was like, you know what? I can suffer for a little bit longer if this means I can do this for you because you bought drinks and you're always looking out for me. So I think with my brother, it's one of those like I would like to do that more. With my mom too, it's like I would like to, but no, with mothers they will fight you a little bit. Like no, this is my treat. I'm like, God damn it.
That's funny.
Fine.
Yeah. I've gotten better at accepting that. Like, I've had a few people like buy me stuff, but yeah. Normally I'm quick with the card. So
Josh, like I joked earlier, but I might be serious. I could talk to you forever. I think we should have a follow-up because you have a lot of stories that you kind of held back. and I'll prep you on for next time. But I can't say again how happy I am that you have your own business now. You're on the road to marriage, and seems like you're living your best life right now. So, I'm so happy I get to have you right in front of me and get to hear your voice and talk with you. And so I like to wrap up my interviews by asking 3 questions from this Would You Rather packet.
Oh, God.
So I used to like hypothetical questions, but I was like, they got too convoluted. And I was like, let's just keep this simple.
I'll try to do it,
yeah. Okay. Are you a sports guy? You much of a sports guy? No? Okay.
Not anymore.
Skipping that one. Would you rather be colorblind or lose your sense of taste?
Colorblind.
Colorblind? Yeah, I think so too. Because my partner's cousin's partly colorblind, and he's still fine. But I want to taste things.
Yeah. Well, I think people bond more over food than
Oh, that's a good point.
visuals.
Yeah. Look at that pretty blue sky.
Yeah.
It's
Cool.
like, oh, okay. Sweet.
Try that steak.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Steak with coffee. There you go. There you go. Would you rather pass gas every time you meet someone new or burp every time you kiss someone?
Probably pass gas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have this weird like bodily embarrassment where I can only pass gas in the bathroom. So if it's not like intentionally like into the other person's mouth, like I just go to the side. I mean, that workarounds.
Yeah, I can fix a first impression. I'm just not going to be able to I'm not going to kiss Hannah if I keep burping.
That's a great point. Yeah. Wonderful point. Would you rather go on a cruise with your boss or never go on a vacation ever again? Let's say your previous boss, because you are the boss now.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have an issue with any of my past bosses, so
okay.
Yeah, I would definitely go. I don't have an issue with any of them.
I have a friend who I went to high school with, and now she's back at that high school coaching a dance or whatnot. She's told me how she's ran to like teachers, and now they talk to each other and like friend to friend, very casual. I'm like, that's crazy that these are actual people outside of what I see them for on a day-to-day basis.
Nice. Yeah. God, I haven't ran into anybody. I hardly went to school though when I was in Portland, so it's kind of hard to run into an old teacher.
But yeah, I mean, like seeing maybe a boss from like Premier Press, it's like I can shut down those like emotions and thoughts that attach to that place and just be like, right, you're a person. How are you doing? What's going on in your life?
I have no problem with anybody there. Like if I saw them, it'd be great.
Nice.
But I mean, I just don't see anybody from over there.
Yeah. I mean, other than me.
Well, I still got friends that work over there.
Yeah.
That I talk to on a regular basis, but
yeah.
Other than that, I still talk to a lot of people that I met in the print industry.
Nice.
But a lot of them went through there and are now somewhere else. So.
Mm. Yeah, there are times where I'm like, I see their photos on like Instagram or something like that. I'm like, okay, no idea who you are. You're new. Josh, coming into here, you were kind of nervous.
I was.
How are you feeling now that it's over?
No, it's good. Like I said, man, this is just way out of my comfort zone, which is why I was like, I have to do this now. I was like, I keep doing that though. I started my own business well out of my comfort zone. I would rather have something like already dialed in. I would like to be in a spot where, there's a box that I could think out of versus having to build the box.
I gotcha.
You know what I mean?
I gotcha.
It's a challenge, but I'm loving it so far. But this, I was like, I got to. You asked me, I was excited to even just talk to you. So I was
man.
like, I gotta get out here.
I mean, granted, you're a little far from where I am, but you know what? We have cars now. And we have roads that work, so there's no real reason not to come see it more often.
Yeah, for sure.
So, this is typically a spot where I tell people if they have a social media to give a little shout out. But where can people learn more about Evoke? I know you said the website already, but
yeah, you can find me on LinkedIn.
LinkedIn?
If you know me, you know me. This is B2B, I'm doing B2B sales with people that I built up connections with. I want to drive business, but I also want to be fair. If I took on new, I got stuff in the works. If I took on a bunch of new ones, it wouldn't be fair to anybody. But I mean, if anybody wants to find me on LinkedIn and learn more about it, Joshua Stofiel.
There it is. There it is, man. Again, this is not going to be our one-time conversation. We'll hang out more. We'll talk more.
Yeah, for sure.
This ain't going to be the one-time occasion.
No, for sure. Yeah. Even outside of this, like, we can go grab a coffee or something.
There you go.
I'll pay.
You son of a bitch. Thank you so much to the guest for coming on to the show and sharing a part of your story. And thank you to you, the listener, watcher, however you intook this podcast episode. There are a ton of podcasts out there. I'm not going to deny that, that also talk about the same things I talk about. So for you to dedicate some of your day, night, whenever, to listening to the guest's story, that means a ton to me. It means a ton to them. And so I can't say thank you enough to you, the listeners. So again, just a reminder, all episodes are available on all podcast platforms, and they are back on YouTube. So you can follow the show on social media by looking up at KCmedia13 on Instagram and Twitter, and then, or X, and then at Conluque Media on Facebook. And then if you are interested in becoming a guest for the show, email me at kcmedia13@yahoo.com, and then just tell me a bit of your story, that we would meet, and just so I can get some preliminaries and really just get something scheduled, because having a podcast episode, that's something that I find giving that chance to people means a lot to me, and I want to give that to anyone that's interested. So until the next episode, everyone, please take care.